Right, so before I unveil the new car, little hint right there, if you guys can't tell by the silhouette already, I needed a car to daily drive, something that could beat on a little bit more, but I wanted it to be fun. Things that I considered are the Genesis G70 G80 and the Lexus ES, GS, and IS, all 350 and F Sport versions, but I chose the third make, or should I say brand, that I was considering, so here it is. So, the car that I chose is the Infiniti Q60 Red Sport. And honestly, I was looking at the Q50 Red Sport, which is the sedan version. This is the coupe version. But I've never actually owned a coupe, and having the longer doors and the lines, it just looks, I think, in my opinion, much sexier than the sedan does. Still have actually pretty roomy seats, which I'll go over once I do a review of this car. Or should I say rear seats in the back of the car. And you know, the seats do fold down, so I have the practicality. It is all-wheel drive, and it checked all my boxes. So what I want to do is kind of go over why I chose this car compared to, you know, the Lexus or the Genesis. So I needed something, I guess with COVID now winding down, I needed something to daily drive, to get to work, to drive every day. I don't have a far commute, but something I wanted to be fun. I wanted it to be, you know, reliable. So the three car companies kind of came up with, well, should I say, actually, first thing was I wanted to get a Toyota Camry. I was like, yes, I'm going to get a 2018 Camry. I'm going to drive that thing. Thing's going to last me forever. It's going to be a tank. But, you know, that's the logical side of Chris. The car guy side of Chris actually said, you know what? What I'm going to do is actually I'm going to have something that's fun, something that could drive, you know, a little bit here and there, and also have the power to do so. Just to, you know, when there's those moments to take the corner or, you know, kind of give it a little bit of acceleration and be able to do something like that. So the first one was the Genesis. Now, Hyundai and Genesis is still sort of in kind of the midst of splitting between Hyundai and Genesis, kind of where Lexus was with Toyota and Acura was with Honda. And, you know, they have the G70 and G80, and I was looking at the 3.3 turbo for both of them. The G80 being the more luxurious one, but a little bit slower. The G70 being kind of closer to the S4 that I had before, which you guys saw on the channel. And if I could find something in my budget to kind of replace the S4 and be on the same power level, I'd be really happy. And that's kind of what Genesis did. And Genesis gives you a lot of features standard. So I was like, okay, well, why not go with the Genesis, you know? The dealership experience is, I think, lacking. It's not really there. I think the car is solid. Driving the car was great. It's just the dealership experience really sours the entire car buying experience of Genesis. I think I need to give it a couple more years before I kind of jump ship and go to Genesis. I think the car is great. It's just the dealership experience really, but I just think the dealership experience is what sours the whole experience for me buying a Genesis at this moment in time. I do have a story of the reason why I didn't want to go with that car because of what happened at a dealership, but I think I'll leave that for another time. I was looking at the Genesis, thought, you know, this is great, okay, but again, dealership is not going to work out for me, so let me go to Lexus. I went to Lexus, and they have the Lexus ES 350, and they also have an F Sport version, which is a little bit more money. They have the GS 350 and an F Sport version, and then the IS 350. All of them are pretty much around the same amount of money, except for the ES 350 F Sport. For some reason, I wanted to kind of cross the line, and my budget was around, 35 to 40 grand, and I was looking at a CPO if I could get one, just for the extra warranty. And so what I was looking around is the ES is great. They did a facelift for the 2019 version, and the inside was revamped. It's super comfortable, probably the most comfortable car suspension wise I've ever driven. It's really compliant, and I really liked it, except it's front wheel drive, and as a commuter car, it's not something that I look at, oh, I need all wheel drive, I need rear wheel drive. Well, but being a car guy and going through the turns with that car, I just didn't like the balance that the front wheel drive gave me. I think as an everyday car to go there and back, if it's something I had to do, I would do it. I think it's a great place to sit in a great car. It does have the LFA inspired little turn things here for the traction control and for the sport, eco, and normal mode, which I think is really cool that they kind of ripped it out of the LFA. And the gauge cluster turns into sport, and it gives you that feeling that it's a sporty car, but it's not. It lacks that kind of extra character, I think. I think it's a solid car for sure if you just need it to drive everywhere. That's why I was looking at it. I think it's great. But, with the V6 power plant that Lexus has been using for years now, it just kind of makes it a little bit harder, I think, to daily drive. I think the power is enough. I don't think it's lacking at all. I just think having to rev out the car all the way out without having the extra torque of a turbo car kind of holds it back a little bit, especially compared to the competition. I think the competition now, everybody has a turbo something, and it makes it just that much more fun to drive, I think. Now, kind of opposite that is where the GS 350 came in, and I looked at an F Sport specifically. So you had the more of an engine sound. It's the same engine, but you have more of an engine sound that gets pumped into the cabin. It feels more visceral, more of a sports sedan. Even though the power is the same, it just felt more visceral. And this one was all-wheel drive, so the GS 350 is all-wheel drive. And I really like that car, except the inside is kind of dated. It's one of the reasons I didn't want to go Lexus, because the inside is dated, and also for the same amount of money you could get something with a lot more performance, which is what I was looking for if I could get it. And then the IS 350 I chose not to drive. I had the IS 300 on the channel. One time I rented it out. I thought the IS is kind of small. I'm 6 foot, and it's just a little bit too small. For a sedan, I think it feels a little bit claustrophobic size-wise, but also because of the way the instruments are overlaid here, the way that there's that bulge that comes across. If you guys want to see what I'm talking about, check out the IS video of the interior. There's like this bulge that comes across, and it just makes it feel a little bit more claustrophobic. It's not. It's okay when you're sitting in the front, but it's kind of small for a sedan, to be completely honest. But that also has the same sort of powertrain, but it has the gauges that are, again, LFA. And that's kind of what I wanted to go for. Is like, okay, well, let me get something that's pretty sporty, but something ate at me saying, if I could get something with more power that's more fun, then why don't I go for that? And I looked at some Q50s, and I thought, okay, well, this is great, the power is good. And then there just happened to be a Q60 that came along, and I started looking at that. Okay, well, this is awesome. Infinity. Okay, reliability might not be on the same level as Lexus, but it's not. It's not like the American cars. So why not? And actually, Steve on the channel, he's had a G37 for years, since 2009. So, and he had no issues with that car. And I said, you know what? Let me take the plunge and check out the Q60. It's all-wheel drive. It's a coupe. I have enough space for everything. I have 400 horsepower. I have 350 pound-feet of torque. And I think it looks amazing. The interior maybe isn't as updated as maybe the new ES from Lexus, but I like it. I like the purple and the carbon fiber with the purple accents. I think it gives it a little bit more of a sporty Infinity look. Infinity has that purple hue that they have going on. I really like that. Infotainment's good. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but I can go over all this and review the car when I make those videos. But that's really what I was looking at. Everything else, I didn't look at Acura. I know they came out with a new Type S, I believe, but for the options now during COVID time, with all the used car prices being really high, I'm sure if it wasn't COVID times, I'd be able to get something much better. But for what it is, I think I made a solid choice. The more I drive this car, the happier I get, the more I find how impressed I am with this car, to be completely honest. I think a lot of people are maybe who are in the know about this car and how kind of awesome the powertrain is and what you get with this car. It's comfortable. It's actually pretty quick, I have to say. I think it feels a little bit better than the S4. It's pretty humid here in New Jersey, and with those coolant, or should I say liquid cooled intercoolers, not just air, it really helps with the heat soak. At least I haven't seen any heat soak. So before I go, let's do one acceleration run. Let's see if we can get into second gear here. There you go. So guys, that's what it is. If you guys have any questions between the Genesis, Lexus, Infiniti, and why I went this route a little bit more in detail, I can tell you guys in the comments if you guys have a question about that. But I'll be releasing an interior, exterior, and driving review of this car as I have every other cars. But if you see this car on the channel, this is the Great Unveil. So here it is, the Q60 Red Sport, and welcome to F90. So guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.